Anyone who's been a rich kid knows. Every rich kid heads out in a Lamborghini or Ferrari, but you're the heir to a fortune worth tens of billions. And you eat in the cafeteria every day, take the bus, and wear street market clothes. Even the 5 million yuan your dad gives you each month is down to 4,999,500 by month's end. This made your billionaire father think there was something wrong with your head. He planned to sign you up for the hit reality show Metamorphosis, claiming it would teach you what poverty feels like. He hoped you'd come home and start spending recklessly. At first, the show's director planned to refuse. Metamorphosis was supposed to be an educational show, but in reality, it just magnified the rich kids' ridiculous behavior for viewers, to satisfy their taste for the bizarre, and give anxious parents someone to relate to. The only difference was a softer, more entertaining approach, wrapped in a shinier package. But a top student like you didn't fit the show's requirements at all. Then he saw your dad wire over 20 million yuan. Wait, 20 million? All right, for that kind of money. Who cares if this episode turns out lousy? Hold on, aren't there 3 stars this season? If the other 2 are weird and awful enough, we might still save the ratings. At that, producer Li Ming's face looked even more constipated. He nervously pulled out 2 more files and handed them over. Li Gang looked at the other 2 files in his hands and felt his career had hit Waterloo. The first one, Lin Feng. Personality, aloof, likes daydreaming and reading. Reason for being sent. His family was too rich, but he had no interest in taking over the family business. He only wanted to become a Taoist priest. His parents sent him to experience life's hardships and give up on becoming a priest. The second one, Su Wan. Personality, sweet and obedient, likes crafts and cooking. Reason for being sent, she's too naive and sheltered, and easy to fool. Her family sent her to see how harsh society is and how complicated people can be. What the hell are these weirdos? Producer, how did you cast them? You told me to pick the best ones. One wants to become a priest. One is a sheltered sweetheart. And then there's that penny-pinching maniac. Put the 3 of them together. And is this really Metamorphosis? This is more like a countryside vacation show. The producer shrank his neck and looked deeply wronged. Besides the 20 million from the Chin family, these 2 families paid plenty too. And if we put all 3 in separate episodes, wouldn't that ruin the ratings for 3 episodes? As the saying goes, better one short pain than a long one. We should put these 3 oddballs in 1 episode, and only sacrifice that episode. For the rest of the season, we can still find rich kids who get into fights and make money off the ratings. Li Gang froze for a moment, then nodded gravely. All right. That actually makes a lot of sense. Brilliant move. Absolutely brilliant. 2 hours later, the convoy finally reached Shiwa village, deep in Dalian Mountain. You pushed open the car door and stepped out, taking a deep breath of the mountain's crisp air. Not far away stood a young man and woman, both around your age. The young man was handsome and cool-looking, with his hands in his pockets, staring up at a bird's nest in a tree. He seemed completely detached from the world around him. The girl was petite and adorable. Wearing a dress, she was crouched on the ground, watching ants move house, with a sweet smile on her face. All departments, listen up. All departments, listen up. We're starting the standard procedure. Stay sharp. First step, confiscate their contraband and phones. Get the cameras in for close-ups. Remember to catch their reluctant, angry reactions. This is our first conflict point. On past episodes, the phone confiscation always started a war. Rich kids either smashed their phones or cursed, and some even attacked the staff. A few staff members in black marched forward aggressively, confiscating all electronics, snacks, and cash. Please cooperate. Li Gang stared at the monitor, silently chanting to himself. Get angry. Start cursing. But the next second, the footage left him speechless. You calmly pulled out the old phone you'd used for 3 years and placed it in the staff member's hand. Please take good care of it. Thank you. Lin Feng snapped out of his daze, blankly pulled out the latest foldable phone and tossed it into the box like garbage. He muttered, just a worldly possession. Su Wan obediently handed over her phone. Sir, please don't damage my wallpaper. The walkie-talkie in Li Gang's hand dropped to the ground with a clatter. They just handed them over? They're this cooperative? Where's the viewership in that? I want conflict. Arguments. Hysteria. The assistant director cautiously asked.
Director.
Should we send in some extras to provoke them? Are you crazy? Do you have any idea who these three families are? We can't afford to offend any of them. If even one of these young masters or ladies feels mistreated and complains to their families, our show could be shut down tomorrow. I don't believe it. That life in this godforsaken place. Can they really handle it? In an oddly peaceful atmosphere, the three didn't, like past contestants, ride into the village. Instead, they were made to carry their luggage on foot. It was one of the crew's intimidation tactics. But to the director's disappointment, you were in excellent shape. Lin Feng seemed to have martial arts training. Su Wan looked delicate, but gritted her teeth and kept going without a word. The three soon reached the lodging arranged by the crew. It was a farmhouse halfway up the mountain. The house was badly run down. A few painfully skinny chickens wandered in the yard. Firewood was piled in the corner. An elderly couple in their 70s stood at the door, awkwardly rubbing their calloused hands. Their faces were etched with age, but their eyes were warm and kind. You stepped forward first, and naturally bowed in greeting. Lin Feng simply gave a cool nod, which counted as a bow. Su Wan sweetly called out, "Hello, Grandma and Grandpa." Seeing the three city kids, who looked like porcelain dolls, the old couple didn't know what to do. They smiled shyly and honestly. "Good kids, come inside. It's a mess in here. Don't mind it." Once inside, the air smelled of mildew and firewood. The table had a broken leg, propped up with bricks. You looked around and realized the most valuable appliance in the house was probably that light bulb from who knows how many years ago. In conditions this poor, you don't find it all that difficult. After all, even though you were born lucky in this life, you started as a true orphan in your past life, raised by whoever could feed you. This kind of place even feels a little familiar. Just then, the field director grabbed a megaphone and announced the rules for the next task. Starting now, you'll live here for 15 days. The production crew won't provide any money or food. You'll have to figure out how to pay for everything yourselves. If you want to eat, either go work in the town a few miles away, or work the fields for the locals in exchange for food. Got it? That's the whole point of metamorphosis. Through hard work, the rich kids learn how hard it is to earn money. Usually, this is when the rich kids start cursing, but you simply nod calmly. Got it. So we fend for ourselves. Lin Feng glanced at the shabby roof and said flatly, "No work for a day. No food for a day." Makes sense. Su Wan was a little scared, but seeing both brothers agree, she timidly nodded too. "I'll do my best." The directors all looked at one another, feeling like they'd punched a pillow. There was no sense of accomplishment at all. Night fell. The mountain night was especially quiet. You lay on a rock-hard wooden bed, staring at the moonlit, hazy roof, lost in thought. How is this metamorphosis? This is clearly just sending three normal people to experience wilderness survival. You turned your head and listened to Lin Feng's steady breathing next door. That guy sure has nerves of steel. He fell asleep instantly in a place like this. You rolled over and were about to fall asleep when suddenly, a crisp electronic chime exploded in your mind. Ding, congratulations, host. You've acquired a passive skill. Novice Mountain Foraging Master. After equipping this skill, the host can precisely identify within 10 miles of the mountains all kinds of rare plants, fungi, and medicinal herbs, and automatically master the best ways to harvest and preserve them, preserving their economic value to the greatest extent. Bonus: 1 powerful stamina potion. As the system alert faded, you felt a warm current instantly flow through your entire body. The muscles sore from the long journey quickly recovered their energy under the soothing warmth, even filling you with a strength you'd never felt before. At the same time, a wealth of knowledge about plants, fungi, and herbs surged into your mind like a tidal wave. You clenched your fist, feeling the power in your palm, a playful smile curling at the corner of your mouth. My parents sent me here to spend money. And the director sent me here to suffer. This script keeps getting more interesting. The next morning, the first light was just appearing on the horizon, and the mountain roosters had only crowed once. Old Zhang, the cameraman assigned to follow you, was still dreaming in his sleeping bag when a faint door opening woke him. He rubbed his bleary eyes and instinctively glanced at his watch. 6:30 a.m. Who the hell is up this early? Muttering, old Zhang lifted a corner of the tent to look outside, and his sleepiness vanished in an instant. The three rich kids in the yard were already all up. The mountain air was bitterly cold that morning, and the well water was ice cold. You stood by the well and expertly drew a bucket of water, without the slightest hesitation. You scooped up the icy water and splashed it on your face. Beside you, Lin Feng still looked, cold and aloof, like he hadn't woken up. But he didn't complain either, silently wiping his face with a cold, wet towel. As for delicate Su Wan, though her little face was red from the cold, and she hunched her shoulders, she still finished washing up. This isn't how the script was supposed to go. Old Zhang hurriedly grabbed his camera, without even taking time to put his shoes on properly, and rushed outside. Come on, get up! They're already getting to work. As the camera crew rushed in, the once quiet courtyard quickly came alive. You dried the water from your face, glanced at the other two, and said, "Since we're here, whether this is for show or a real experience, we still have to eat. The directors cut off our food, so we have to work." Yeah, Lin Feng was brief. Su Wan timidly raised her hand. "I'll listen to Beast Bro. Su Wan, you're a girl and not very strong. So help Grandma and Grandpa around the house. Feed the chickens, sweep, and pick vegetables. Can you handle that?" Su Wan sighed with relief and quickly nodded. "I can. I've never done it at home. But I can learn. Lin Feng and I will work in the fields. I looked over Grandpa's cornfield yesterday, and it needs weeding and pest control. That's heavy labor. The two of us men can handle it." Lin Feng glanced at the terraced fields in the distance and said flatly, "No problem. It's just morning exercise." The cameras faithfully recorded the scene and transmitted it to the monitor inside the director's van. Director Li Gang stared hard at the screen. "I refuse to believe. These kids born with silver spoons in their mouths can handle the hardships of farm work."
He grabbed his radio and yelled,
Getting close for the shots. Especially their disgusted expressions. Don't miss a single one. But reality hit back like a loud slap, smacking the production crew right in the face. You and Lin Feng each carried a hoe, following the old farmer into the fields. The cornfield sat halfway up the mountain, with a steep slope and hard soil. Even for an old hand, who'd worked the land for years, it wasn't easy, let alone these two soft, pampered boys. This work is exhausting. Take it slow. And rest if you need to. The old man felt a little embarrassed. After all, he was making his guests suffer in the fields. His simple, honest heart felt guilty about it. "It's okay, Grandpa. Just rest here and guide us." You gripped the hoe with both hands and swung it down hard, driving it precisely into the weed roots and lifting a clump of soil, removing the weeds while loosening the soil around the corn roots. The depth was just right, without damaging the crops at all. After that single swing, not only did Grandpa freeze, the cameraman carrying the rig froze too. That stance with your back and legs in perfect sync, and your smooth control of the force, didn't look anything like a beginner. This was the result of your enhanced stamina. Lin Feng wasn't as seasoned as you, but he had a martial arts foundation. He was a little awkward at first, but soon figured out the trick. And they're not even slow. Time ticked by. The sun climbed higher. The scorching sun seemed to bake the earth. The director, who had been waiting for a laugh, was now silent. On the monitor, the two boys were drenched in sweat. Yet there wasn't a hint of annoyance or impatience on their faces. They were even faster than the local men helping out. One of the men couldn't help but marvel. Good Lord, what did these two kids eat to grow up like this? They're born farmhands. The cameraman, drenched in sweat, tried to catch them, slacking off, even for a second. But he failed. You even had time while working to chat with the man beside you. Sir, our village may be poor, but we're right by the mountains. The scenery's great, but we don't have any local products. The man wiped his brow and sighed. This dump has nothing but rocks and trees. To get rich, you need roads first. Without roads, we can't ship anything out. If we have anything at all. It's that after it rains, some mushrooms and matsutake grow in the woods. Matsutake? Yeah, matsutake. They taste great, but folks here are sick of them. Picking some for soup now and then is fine. But selling them is tough. No one in the village buys them. Take them to a town dozens of miles away, and they only sell for a few dozen bucks a pound.
It barely covers the travel cost.
At best, it pays for oil and salt. When you heard they were a few dozen bucks a pound, your eyes lit up. It was 2010, at this point in time, with food documentaries soon hyping them up, and demand booming in high-end dining at home and abroad. Matsutake prices were about to skyrocket, especially in wealthy coastal cities and export markets. Top-grade matsutake could sell for thousands per pound. Yet deep in the isolated Dalian Mountains, this future soft gold was treated by villagers like worthless wild greens. A huge information gap meant a huge business opportunity. You looked over the rolling mountains. They were no longer barren hills. They were gold mines waiting to be tapped. As the sun set, after a full day of work, you put away the tools and went home. But once back in the yard, you slipped into the drafty storage room and rummaged around. At last, you pulled out a dirt-covered bag and a rusty but still sharp little sickle. Lin Feng, sitting on the doorstep too tired to move, looked up and asked, Qin Shou, where are you going? I'm heading up the mountain. I'll be back before dinner. You guys get some rest. Li Gang, who had been in despair, saw this and sprang out of his chair. His voice cracked with excitement. He moved? I knew it. I knew it. I knew. This kid couldn't keep it up. He took a bag and a knife. What's he up to? He's definitely making a run for it. Groups 2 and 3, get after him. Don't let him get away. We have to catch him breaking down or running away. As long as we get that, this episode's ratings are guaranteed. At the director's command, the cameramen who had been dozing off suddenly came alive. They grabbed their heavy equipment and rushed after you. But the next half hour was, for these cameramen, an absolute nightmare. You didn't take the main road the villagers used. Instead, you picked paths thick with weeds and jagged rocks. You moved lightly, as if the rough terrain didn't affect you at all. The cameramen behind you, though, were exhausted as hell. Old Zhang, carrying the main camera, felt like his lungs would burst. This rich kid, is his stamina made of steel? Even a factory mule can't run like that. Just when they thought you were going over the mountain to escape this godforsaken place for good, you stopped before a dense Korean pine forest. You closed your eyes slightly. Mountain foraging master skill activated. In an instant, your vision changed. The once chaotic shrubs and grass became clearly layered, and beneath the layers of dead leaves and pine needles, faint white lights flickered. As if they were calling to you, you walked straight to a huge old pine tree. You crouched and gently brushed aside the thick pine needles. Old Zhang, who had rushed over behind you, aimed his camera at you. He was still wondering. He's not running anymore? Why is he squatting there? Is he tired? But when the camera zoomed in, they finally saw what you were doing. There in the rich soil was a mushroom with an unopened cap and thick stem, brownish red in color. Old Zhang didn't know much about it, but he knew it was a mushroom. Your expression turned intensely focused. Based on the knowledge in your head, picking matsutake had to be quick, steady, and precise. Your sickle moved as precisely as a scalpel. It slipped gently into the soil. With a small flick of your wrist, that prime matsutake came out of the ground intact. You carefully held it up, gently brushed off the loose dirt, and put it in that grimy woven bag. Then you refilled the hole you had dug, covered it with pine needles, and patted it twice. Young Master Qin, you came all this way. working yourself to death in these deep woods. Just to dig up mushrooms? These aren't ordinary mushrooms. This is my first pot of gold. It'd be a shame to waste them. With the system guiding you, it was like having a full map cheat. Wherever there was Matsutake, wherever there were porcini, you found them every time. The rare mushrooms villagers struggled to find, and could only get by luck, were as easy for you to get as groceries. As it gradually got dark, you weighed the woven bag in your hand. It was nearly half full, about 7 or 8 pounds. That's enough. Any later, and I won't be able to see the trail. Meanwhile, back at the old house, a dim light bulb hung overhead. There were bowls of thin, sweet potato porridge on the table, and a plate of dark pickles. Su-wan sat on a small stool, holding her face in her hands, staring anxiously into the dark night beyond the door. Lin Feng, why has Qin Shou been gone so long? What if there are wolves? Lin Feng still sat upright. The porridge in front of him was gone. Probably not. I remember he specifically found a woven bag before he left. If you were running for your life, you'd only bring money and food. A bag would just slow you down. And with his personality, if I leave, it'll be with my head held high. Suddenly, footsteps came from outside the door. Su-wan, who'd been on edge, suddenly looked up. Grandma, Grandpa.
I'm back.
Su-wan jumped up excitedly. We were worried sick about you. The old man let out a sigh of relief, too. He quickly pulled Qinhao down to sit. As long as you're back. The mountain roads are pitch black at night. They're scary as hell. There's still porridge in the pot. Eat it while it's hot. You disappeared for 3 hours. Just to fill this bag? Pretty much. Then you set the bag on the table and opened it. At once, a rich, earthy scent and a unique mushroom aroma filled the tiny room. It even overpowered the pickles on the table. Matsutake. And look at the quality. They're all perfectly young and unopened. Top of the line stuff. You picked up the bowl of, now somewhat cold sweet potato porridge, and took a big sip. Then you looked at Lin Feng and lowered your voice. Lin Feng, this stuff is worthless here. But in a town dozens of miles away, or even in a farther off city, it's worth its weight in gold. I want to run something by you. What? Tomorrow, help with my farm work too. From the profit on this bag. I'll give you 10%. You know very well that if we want to grow this business, you can't do all the digging yourself. You need time to find buyers. And for that, you need someone to take on the heavy farm work. That'll free you up. Lin Feng glanced at the bag of Matsutake, then looked at you. He suddenly realized that his companion sent here with him for a life change wasn't here to experience rural life at all. He was treating this place like a startup base. Lin Feng stayed silent, quickly doing the math in his head. He didn't care about the money. He cared about the thrill of breaking the rules. Then he held up 2 long fingers. 20%. That's too much. You're only doing some of the work. I handle sales, transport, and buyers. 15% tops. A slight smile tugged at Lin Feng's lips. It was the first genuine smile he'd shown since arriving here. He reached out his hand. Deal. Su-wan bit down on her chopsticks. Her big eyes blinked rapidly. She looked at you on the left, then at Lin Feng on the right. She had no idea what these 2 big brothers were talking about. Matsutake. You get a cut and still have to work? But didn't the production crew say, we were here to experience a hard life? Why does it feel like you 2 came here to do business? You gave her a knowing smile. Experience a hard life. What's more satisfying than starting a business and getting rich? 5 in the morning. The fog in the Dalian Mountains hadn't lifted yet. The air carried a bone-chilling cold. Jiang, still half asleep, was pulling up his pants as he stepped out of the outhouse. When he saw a sight that made him question his life, you were already dressed and ready, standing by the courtyard gate, doing stretches. Morning, Jiang. I'm heading to town. It's a bit of a hike. We need to get moving. Lao Zhang froze for a moment. He glanced at the heavy camera in his hands, then at the endless mountain road. A bad feeling suddenly rose in his gut. To town? On foot? How else? There aren't even any taxes out here. Before Lao Zhang could protest, you had already run off. Young Master Qin, wait for me. The next 2 hours became the worst nightmare of Lao Zhang's career that he could never shake. You moved effortlessly over the rough mountain road. Your breathing unnervingly steady. You barely even broke a sweat. But Lao Zhang, following behind, was suffering. He was carrying a camera weighing over 40 pounds, plus spare batteries and water. His lungs felt ready to explode. You stopped and glanced at Lao Zhang sprawled on the ground. Zhang, your fitness is terrible. You need to train more. We're going to the market. It'll be over if we get there late. Finally, before the sun had fully risen, you reached the nearest town, Qingxi Town. You didn't waste time sightseeing. You headed straight to the farmer's market. Ma'am, how much for the matsutake? $30 a pound for loose sale. 25 for bulk. How much do you want? You stood up without a word and asked at several more stalls. The prices ranged from $20 to $40 a pound. You now had a clear idea of the market. You found a corner and opened the burlap sack, revealing the premium young matsutake you'd picked yesterday. Soon, a middle-aged man in a leather jacket and carrying a briefcase walked over. Now that's good stuff. They're all young, and look at the quality. Freshly picked, right? Not a single bruise. Lao Zhang filmed nearby with the camera, quietly amazed. He didn't know much about mushrooms, but judging by the buyer's expression, he knew your bag was something special. Name your price. You don't see quality like this around here. I'll give you a premium price. $50 a pound. Behind the camera, Lao Zhang took a sharp breath. 50 a pound? But you just smiled and tightened the mouth of the bag. That's not how business works, boss. Matsutake of this quality would fetch at least this much. In the county seat or the city, the buyer's expression changed. He clearly hadn't expected this young man to know the business. All right. You're a smart kid. I won't play games with you. This bag's about 8 or 9 pounds. I'll give you a flat $1,000 for the whole thing. $1,000? This kid made $1,000 in one afternoon. Not selling. That's the highest price in town. Go ask around and see who'll pay more. It's a fair price, but I'm not selling it all today. I'll sell just 1 pound. Will you buy it for 100? I need cash right now. Just 1 pound for travel money. The buyer looked at your stubborn expression, then glanced at the rest of the bag. But in the end, you had no choice but to pay. You grabbed a $100 bill and didn't stop. You turned and headed for the town bus station. You walked up to the ticket window. You slapped down the $100 bill. To the nearest big city. 1 ticket for the next bus. What about me, young Master Qin? You just made $100. Can't you buy me a ticket? Brother Zhang, I'm just a poor kid here to experience life. This $100 is my first pot of gold. Every penny has to count. Besides, doesn't your show have a budget? Buy your own ticket. Looking at your stingy face, old Zhang could only roll his eyes. He sighed and pulled out his wallet, then bought himself a ticket. What kind of rich kid is this? He's clearly a total cheapskate. You and old Zhang bounced along the winding road for 3 hours. Before noon, you reached Yanzhou City. Compared with that run-down little town, Yanzhou was clearly much more prosperous. Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you something? I'm delivering mountain goods for my family. Where's the biggest market in town, the kind rich people love? Or a seafood restaurant for wealthy customers? Well, aren't you a hard worker? If you're selling good stuff, you need to go to Fuhua Farmers Market downtown. That's where the rich people go. And there are plenty of buyers who know quality. Take bus 8. It'll get you there. Thanks, sir. Hope your business is booming. And stay healthy. After saying goodbye to the old man, you jogged off with old Zhang, straight to Fuhua Farmers Market. You finally picked the most lavishly decorated shop, one specializing in premium mushrooms and mountain delicacies. Boss, do you buy goods here? Go away, we don't buy from random sellers. Turn left outside and set up a street stall. Boss, don't dismiss me so fast. Take a look at the goods first, Then you can send me away. You opened the bag. A rich, pure aroma of matsutake mushrooms instantly filled the air, overpowering the dried goods in the shop. This is premium matsutake. The caps haven't opened. The stems are firm. They're over 12 centimeters long and freshly picked from the mountain. Where did you get these, kid? I picked them in my family's mountains. They came down this morning. I brought them here by bus. They're absolutely fresh. Smell the dirt. It's still damp. Of course I'll buy them. How much do you have? I sold a pound on the way here to cover my fare. There's a little over 7 pounds left. It's all right here. I'll take the whole lot. Given the current market, this quality is hard to find. I won't cheat you. How about $300 a pound? Boss, $300 is the price for ordinary first-grade mushrooms. Mine are premium, kept fresh with the soil still on. Every one is top grade. Not a single cap has opened. You can resell them to a high-end hotel for at least $800, even $1,000 a pound. I don't mind you making a profit, but you should leave me a little too, right? The boss's face stiffened. He gave you a long, hard look. The kid looks so young. How did he know the market so well? All right, looks like you know your stuff. 400 bucks a pound. That's my final offer. It's truly the highest I can go. Any higher, and I won't make a profit. For 2010 purchase prices, that really was the ceiling. Deal. They weighed it just over 7 pounds. At 7 pounds, that's $2,800. The boss was a man of his word. He opened the safe and handed you a thick stack of cash. Kid, count it. You took the money and counted it like a seasoned accountant. You flipped through every bill. Old Zhang watched you, holding that thick stack of cash, and felt his whole worldview collapse. $2,800 in one afternoon. Just one afternoon? I only make 2 or 3 grand a month. How is this supposed to be metamorphosis? This is Warren Buffett in the mountains. Boss, let me get your number. For the next little while, as long as the weather's good, I may have more goods like these. Sure, no problem. As long as the quality's good, I'll buy as much as you have. I'll pay a fair price. Call me anytime. Then it's a deal. On the way back, you sat on the bus heading back to town, holding that warm stack of cash. You quickly calculated the $2,800. Your first pot of gold. But riding the bus back and forth every day wasted too much time. 4 or 5 hours were spent just on the road. Maybe I should buy a motorcycle first, or a powerful electric bike. That would cut down my travel time. And let me reach deeper into the mountains. Then I wouldn't have to do all the picking myself. I'll become the biggest middleman in this village. Then you took old Zhang, the cameraman, straight to the town's only vehicle dealership. But reality quickly poured cold water on you. Boss, how much is this electric bike? The Green Source one? The latest model that just arrived? $3,200, no discounts. For that price, you could have bought a decent electric motorcycle back then. You weren't ready to give up. You pointed at the motorcycle beside it. What about that 125? That one's even more expensive. Over $5,000 after fees. If you can't afford it, don't waste your time looking. Turn right outside. The bike repair shop sells cheap ones. You turned around without hesitation, not even looking back. Your money was too precious right now. Buying overpriced, underpowered junk just wasn't worth it. Then you went to the bike shop next door. Boss, give me your Sturtus bike. It has to carry heavy loads, handle mountain roads, and have a rear rack. This bike's a classic. The old 28-inch bar bike. Everything rattles except the bell. No, wait. Nothing rattles. Only the bell works. It can carry 300 pounds, no problem. And you can hang a basket up front? Perfect for mountain roads. Give me a fair price, and we've got a deal. After buying the bike, you didn't rush home. Instead, you went back into the market and started stocking up. You piled everything you bought onto the handlebars and tied it to the rear rack. You even hung a bag of potatoes from the frame. At 2 p.m., you rode the heavily loaded old bike, humming a tune. The uphill sections were tough, but on flat roads and downhill, you flew like the wind. Meanwhile, cameraman old Zhang, following behind, had completely broken down by now. Hang in there, brother Zhang. The downhill stretch is just ahead. I'll wait for you. I appreciate the thought. Damn your whole family. Finally, around 4 p.m., you rode into the entrance of Shiwa village. The crew guarding the village entrance, to keep the protagonist from escaping, were killing time playing cards. Suddenly, a clear bike bell rang. They all looked up and instantly froze. There you were, riding a brand new bike, with 2 huge cuts of pork hanging from the handlebars, and rice, flour, and cooking oil tied to the back. You looked just like a shopkeeper coming back from a supply run. Where'd that bike come from? Where'd that meat come from? This is huge. We've got a story. Think about it.
He left this morning empty-handed.
It's been less than a day. How could a broke rich kid make enough money to buy all that? He must have cheated. That kid must have hidden a bank card somewhere and gone into town to withdraw money. Quick, report this to the director. This is a serious rule violation. We finally got him, but you had no idea what was going on. You watched the staffer, who saw you and immediately ran off, with a question mark over your head. Is this guy crazy? Why am I running from him? But you didn't give it much thought. With a bike full of spoils, you rode proudly into the village. The news that you rode into town spread like wildfire, from house to house. Isn't that old Lee City kid? That's a brand new forever bike. The wheels are still shining. Look at that slab of pork hanging there. It's huge. I haven't seen that much meat in 6 months. You knew you couldn't act all high and mighty, and you couldn't let them get the wrong idea. You planted 1 foot down and stopped. Uncles, aunts, you've all got it wrong. I didn't bring a penny with me, and my family didn't give me these things. I earned all of this today, from things in our mountains. Son, stop pulling our leg. What's worth anything in these backwoods? Sir, our mountains are full of treasures. People just never noticed before. This bike, the rice, flour, and cooking oil were all paid for with the matsutake I sold today. Folks, no need to rush. Let me go home and tell Grandma and Grandpa I'm safe, and put everything away first. Later, if you're interested, come on over to old Lee's place. I'll explain exactly how I made my money and turned mountain dirt into gold. How about I teach everyone to make money too? Meanwhile, in the courtyard at old Lee's house, Lin Feng was chopping firewood, and Su Wang was feeding the chickens. The elderly couple sat by the door, looking worried. It's already afternoon. Why isn't he back yet? Could he have gotten lost? Grandma, maybe Lin Feng should go look for him. Just then, their neighbor, Aunt Wang, came rushing in, panting. That new kid of yours has really made it big. Really big. He's riding a new bike, loaded with meat and rice. The whole village went to see. They say he earned it all today. He made enough for a bike in 1 day. And meat and rice too. That's unbelievable. Just then, you pushed the bike back into the courtyard. Grandpa, Grandma, Lin Feng, Su Wan.
I'm back.
No more thing porridge tonight. We're having meat, braised pork. Su Wan stared at the huge slab of pork swaying there and couldn't help swallowing. Lin Feng glanced at the bike and smiled with admiration. Impressive. Beast bro. Where did all this stuff come from? You didn't really do what that guy said and withdraw money from a bank in town, did you? Su Wan was innocent, but she knew the show's rules. All cash and cards had been confiscated. That was absolute. If you really had hidden money, that would be a serious violation. What are you thinking? If I'd gone to withdraw money, wouldn't the production crew have seen me? Do I look that stupid? Then where'd you get the money? Don't you remember that snakeskin sack I was carrying yesterday afternoon? I traded those Matsu take mushrooms for all this. They bought all this? Of course they did. Wild Matsu take of this quality can sell at high-end restaurants in Shanghai or Beijing for nearly $140 a pound. I got lucky today. I only sold them at wholesale prices. Honestly, I still sold them too cheap. Su Wan sucked in a sharp breath. As the cherished daughter of the Su family, the Matsu take she ate at home had always been prepared by a chef and served on elegant plates. She only knew that they tasted delicious and had never cared about the price. To her, they were just an ingredient. But now, seeing that $140 turn into a real bicycle, rice, and pork, enough to support this family for a month, she finally understood what money was worth. So, every bite I used to eat was that expensive? You walked over to Lin Feng, who sat on the doorstep, and pulled a stack of bills from your pocket. Here's the payment we agreed on. If you hadn't helped me with that farm work yesterday, I wouldn't have had time to sell anything. Here's your $400 share. Lin Feng held the 4 thin bills, with a strange feeling in his heart. As the young master of the Lin family, his allowance had once been measured in tens of thousands. He could swipe a black card whenever he wanted. Yet those 4 red bills in his hand felt unusually heavy. This was the first money he'd earned, entirely through his own hands and hard work, not his parents'.
Thanks.
I used to spend money like water and think it was just a number. But looking at this $400 now, it feels more real than those millions ever did. Then Lin Feng solemnly tucked the money into his pocket. Come to me whenever something like this happens. Just remember to pay me. Of course. Even brothers keep clear accounts. You definitely won't be shorted. Just then, the courtyard gate was shoved open. Director Li Gang and 4 or 5 burly crew members stormed in. The moment Director Wang Gang entered, he saw a brand new bicycle and big slabs of pork belly, with rice, flour, oil, and more piled high. Wang Gang instantly got excited. I knew it. I knew it. I knew a rich kid like you couldn't handle hardship. Did you get all that on camera? This is solid proof. The employee who reported you looked especially smug. According to the show's rules, guests can't hide cash or bank cards, or use family connections to get money. What do you have to say for yourself? Take away everything they got illegally. Like hell you will. Let's see who dares touch it. You coldly stared at Wang Gang. You weren't flustered at all. Instead, you looked slightly amused. You're saying I broke the rules? You're saying I cheated? Well, where's your evidence? Wang Gang was shaken by your presence, but quickly answered seriously. What evidence do we need? The facts are right in front of us. You left this morning without a penny, then came back with nearly $1,000 worth of supplies. Unless you secretly took a bank card into town. Is there any other explanation? Don't tell me you found the money. I don't believe you could make that much in one day. So, in other words, you're relying entirely on guesses. You have absolutely no proof, do you? Is this how your show handles things? Is this what you call pursuing the truth? Wang Gang was suddenly speechless. Though he was 100% sure inside, he really hadn't filmed you withdrawing money. Just then, the employee's eyes shifted, and he suddenly thought of something. The cameraman, Old Zhang, must know. Wang Gang's eyes lit up. Old Zhang filmed you the whole time. I don't believe he'd cover for you. Once we check Old Zhang's footage, the truth will come out. Since you're saying the cameraman is the evidence, we'll wait right here. If what Old Zhang filmed proves I didn't break the rules, and proves I earned this money cleanly, then what will you do? Seeing how utterly unafraid you looked, a bead of cold sweat ran down Wang Gang's forehead. How is this kid so calm? Could there really be a twist? Wang Gang's heart began to pound. Qin Hao is the sponsor's son. if we really wronged him. And this young master complained to his family. Losing the $20 million investment would be the least of it. If the forces behind those three companies joined together to target the show might be cancelled tomorrow. Thinking of that, Wang Gang softened his attitude a little. Young Master Qin, if we've wronged you, then that's our staff's failure. We'll fire that loudmouth at once. The reporting employee's face instantly went pale. Is firing me enough? What about the damage to my reputation? What about my emotional distress? Wang Gang felt a toothache coming on. What kind of kid is this? He's a negotiation expert. Then what do you want? You pointed at the bicycle, and then toward the village entrance. Since you're saying I broke the rules, if it turns out I didn't, then give me one chance to break them. Next time I go to town or the city to sell goods, your show has to give me a free ride and help haul my cargo. What do you think? You know exactly why. I have a bicycle now, but its cargo space is limited. If I want to buy Matsutake mushrooms in bulk, I'll still need a car. Hearing this demand, Wang Gang felt relieved. Using a car to haul goods was far better than paying damages, losing funding, or stopping the show. Fine, as long as you prove you didn't cheat. From now on, your goods will be hauled by our show's vehicles. It's a deal. Just then, old Zhang walked in carrying the camera, staggering toward the courtyard gate. Old Zhang, bring the camera over, quick. I want to see the footage. Old Zhang dropped onto the ground, took a ladle of water from Suwan, and gulped it down. Seeing the tense atmosphere around him, he looked completely confused. What happened? The staff quickly and skillfully connected the camera to the monitor and started replaying today's footage. The video began to play. Qin Hao was seen sprinting down a mountain road. Old Zhang was screaming behind him. Wang Gang watched you walk over the rough terrain with ease, and his mouth twitched. Then you reached town and pulled out that bag of Matsutake mushrooms. Matsutake? Next, you took a bus to the city. You went straight to an upscale farmer's market. The shop owner's crisp, ringing cash count filled the scene. You took the stack of bills and calmly counted it. Then you carefully calculated every penny, buying the bike, meat, rice, flour, and oil, until you rode back to the village entrance. Is that possible? Wang Gang was completely dumbfounded. He looked at you with an intensely complicated expression. Director, do you see it clearly now? Do I need to explain where the $2,800 came from? Wang Gang took a deep breath and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He knew he'd really messed up this time, and he had lost fair and square. He quickly put on an apologetic smile. This was all a misunderstanding. You earned that money through your own skill. We acted too hastily. We're sorry. Truly, we're sorry. That good-for-nothing, who only causes trouble, not only falsely accused a guest, but nearly ruined the show's reputation. You're fired. Right now. Get out. Now. The employee didn't even have a chance to beg before two crew members dragged him away. It was harsh, but it gave you an answer. As for the vehicle I promised you, a deal's a deal. When I go to the city to sell goods, remember to send a bigger truck. Absolutely, absolutely. Then you turned toward the outside of the courtyard. By then, the villagers had gathered outside to watch. They had clearly seen every moment of what had just happened. You straightened your clothes and walked up to the steps by the gate. Everyone, you all saw what happened just now. Did I say I earned this money from Mountain Matsutake? Then that's exactly what happened. I know everyone has always thought Matsutake wasn't worth much. That's because our roads are hard to travel, and information doesn't travel far. I could only sell them cheap to dealers in town. But things are different now. I have connections. I have buyers. I can take our Matsutake and sell them in big cities for a much higher price. The crowd stirred. Everyone held their breath, waiting to hear what came next. Starting tomorrow, I won't just gather my own. I'll buy from all of you too. As long as the quality passes, I'll pay twice the town's buying price. No, 3 times the price. The town pays 30. I'll pay 90. I'm going to lead everyone in turning the dirt from these poor mountains into gold. As soon as you finished speaking, the whole crowd fell silent for a second. Then deafening cheers erupted. Yeah. Long live young Master Qin. You're our great benefactor. You pressed a hand down, and the noisy crowd quickly quieted. Hundreds of eyes stared at you, filled with hope and awe. You looked around, your earlier smile fading. Your expression turned serious. Uncles and elders, I understand you all want to make money. But let me be clear. I have conditions for buying Matsutake. I won't take every piece of junk. If you don't follow my rules, I won't accept anything you bring back. I won't take Matsutake that's too small. It must be at least 5 centimeters. If we dig them all up now, even the ones meant for our grandchildren, what will we do next year? What about the year after that? Will these mountains still grow Matsutake? This is a business we can sustain for years. It's our stone tile village's future treasure trove. Uncles and elders, don't let a little bit of quick cash right in front of us cut off our children's future income. Your words rang out with force, striking every villager's heart. They hadn't read many books, but they understood that if the green hills remain, there will always be firewood to burn. Second, and most important, before anyone officially enters the mountains, you must learn the proper techniques from me. How to find a mushroom patch, how to use your spade, and how to refill the soil. There are rules for all of it. You absolutely can't do it like before and turn the soil upside down just to dig up one mushroom, breaking all the underground mycelium. Heaven has blessed great Liangshan. We've been given such rich Matsutake resources. That's a huge advantage, as long as we protect them and use them wisely. The mushrooms covering these mountains can help our village kids leave the mountains, become bricks for everyone's new homes, and pay for the elders' medical care. Uncles and elders, those are my only 2 rules. Do you understand? After a brief silence, the crowd let out a united roar. It was so loud that birds flew from the trees. A smile returned to your face. Good. Since everyone agrees, let's get to work. Tomorrow morning at 6. Anyone who wants to learn, meet under the big tree at the village entrance. Okay. There are too many people. I can't teach everyone by myself. So for the first group, I'll take only 20. Young people who are quick on their feet. Once they learn, they can teach the rest of you. Meanwhile, the director watched the monitor. There you were, commanding the whole crowd. He held his teacup halfway to his mouth. Is this damn show still called Metamorphosis? How did this kid turn it into a rural development seminar? Director, are we still filming? Of course we are. This footage is incredible. A rich kid goes to the countryside and causes no trouble. Instead, he helps the whole village get rich. The contrast, the message. This is guaranteed to trend. This episode's gonna blow up. On the morning of the 3rd day, the sky was barely getting light. Under the big tree at the once quiet village entrance, a crowd had already gathered. Nearly every able-bodied villager had come. Even though you'd said you'd only take young people in the first group, everyone still wanted to watch. They were afraid of missing their chance to get rich. I heard young Master Qin made almost 3 grand in one day yesterday. I came to see how he did it. You appeared before everyone, full of energy. You quickly picked 20 people from the crowd. You, and you. The 20 of you. Grab your baskets and follow me. Then you led this team of prosperity, pioneers into the mountains in grand fashion. Cameraman Zhang had learned his lesson. He borrowed a pair of canvas work shoes from a villager last night. Now he gritted his teeth and followed close behind. Everyone, watch closely. I'll demonstrate it only 3 times. Look here. Morels usually grow where pine and oak trees mix, and often in clusters. When you spot a mound like this, don't rush to dig. Take a sharpened wooden stick and carefully move aside the pine needles, revealing a morel underneath. Place the stick precisely and pry it up gently. Be sure to protect the mycelium at the base. You explain as you work, moving with practiced ease. Once you pull it out, the most important part is filling the hole. You grab some humus from nearby and fill the hole, then cover it with pine needles and pat it down gently. This leaves a door open for the next one. As long as the environment isn't damaged, in a few days or next year, new morels will grow here. That's the way to make it last. All right, spread out, find your own spots, and practice what I just taught you. Yes, sir. Hey, don't use that iron hoe. Use a stick. Urguzi, yours is too small. It's barely as big as your thumb. Why are you digging it up? Bury it again. All morning, you act like a strict teacher, moving back and forth through the woods. Though you're sweating like crazy, watching these young people go from clumsy to gradually skilled fills you with a sense of accomplishment. You keep working until 3 p.m., then call it a day, though they're all beginners. And teaching took up quite a bit of time. No one collected all that much. The most got 2 or 3 pounds, and the least got just over a pound. But for you, that was enough. Back in the village, you head straight to the open space outside the village office. By then, nearly everyone in the village has gathered, layer after layer, blocking the whole place. Everyone cranes their necks, trying to see what the young people dug up. Lin Feng, give me a hand. Lin Feng borrows an old-fashioned steel yard from a villager. All right, line up, one at a time. Urguzi is the first to step forward. Don't be nervous. After trimming, the net weight is 2 pounds 4 ounces. At the agreed rate of 90 yuan a pound, 2.4 times 90. That's 216 yuan. You reach into your pocket and pull out a stack of cash you prepared earlier, counting out 2 bills, then adding 16 yuan in change, and placing it in Urguzi's hands. The entire crowd falls silent. Everyone stares intently at the 2 large bills in Urguzi's hand. Urguzi holds the money, his hands shaking with excitement. He usually goes to town for odd jobs, working all day for just 30 or 50 yuan. Today, he only took a walk up the mountain with you, dug up a few mushrooms, and made over 200 yuan.
Next.
Wang Dazhuang, 1 pound 8 ounces, 162 yuan. Li Tiju, 3 pounds 1 ounce, 279 yuan. Good grief. Tiju made almost 300 yuan in one day. Oh my god, are these morels really worth that much? They sure are. We really were blind before, throwing gold away like dirt. I want to learn too. I want to learn too. Several village men immediately rush over to Urguzi and Li Tiju. Brother Urgu, you've got to teach me tomorrow. I'll carry your basket for you. Brother Tiju, how did you refill the soil? Tell me how you did it. You stand on the steps and let out a soft breath, then turn to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng shakes his sore wrist, watching the ecstatic villagers, though he's a little tired. It really feels good. Brother Beast, Brother Lin Feng, you two must be tired after all that work. Come sit down and eat. I just made this. Just then, Su Wan walks over carrying a large ceramic basin, brimming with pork, napa cabbage, and glass noodles. The thick pork belly is bright and glossy, and the translucent noodles are soaked with broth. The cabbage is tender and full of flavor, still bubbling and steaming. Wan, you're a great cook. It smells so authentic. Yeah, you're too kind, Brother Beast. I used to get bored at home, so I loved watching cooking shows and experimenting in the kitchen. But we had a housekeeper, so I rarely got to cook. I never thought this skill would come in handy now. You take the bowl, not even caring that it's hot, and immediately grab a piece of pork belly with both fat and lean meat from the steaming stew. Wanwan, you're more than just a good cook. You've been hiding this talent, huh? This girl can really cook. It's even better than New Year's feast food. After eating and drinking your fill, you don't take a break. Every minute now matters to your plan for that first fortune. You help collect the villagers' morels and keep the books. Sure, leave it to me. Take the flashlight. Before night fully falls, you head deep into the mountains. Though at the mobilization meeting, you repeatedly stressed not picking small mushrooms and not damaging the mycelium. You know how greedy people can be. Without supervision, it's hard to guarantee no one will ruin things for a little profit. Boss, I just slipped. I'll fix it. Remember, this is everyone's livelihood. Anyone who ruins everyone's livelihood won't be allowed to sell to me. Only after darkness completely covers the mountains do the villagers picking morels gradually come back down. Then the courtyard grows lively again. Come on, don't crowd around. Line up. That's right, line up. Lin Feng holds his notebook, looking every bit like the head manager. Sister-in-law Li, 3 pounds. This Lin Feng really is a rare talent. Looking at this mountain of morels, you feel both happy and worried. You're happy the supply is plentiful, but worried about the limits of the business. Morels are a seasonal gift, with only a few months to harvest each year. Once that period passes, or if the weather turns bad, this extra income will inevitably drop sharply. Relying on it can only feed everyone for a while, but it can't truly make the village prosperous. Once you've built up your initial capital, you have to transform the business. This Metamorphosis show is currently the hottest reality show in the country. Once the first half of the first week's episode airs, your unconventional plan to enrich the village will surely cause a huge sensation. By then, Shiwa Village will become a national focus. In this era, attention is the most valuable thing. Yet, just as you imagine the future, a very real problem appears before you. The accounts are done. We collected 56 pounds of morels today, at the purchase price you set. We don't have enough cash right now. We've bitten off more than we can chew. The yard is packed with villagers waiting to get paid. Their faces are full of joy and hope. They're holding their harvest. Those eager eyes look like kids waiting for candy. If we don't pay them in cash, the trust we've just built could collapse in an instant. What do we do? Then your eyes fall on the brand new Forever bicycle in the corner. I'm all in. Uncles, aunts, everyone, please quiet down. Today's harvest far exceeded my expectations. That proves Daliang Mountain has great resources, and everyone is willing to work. But because the harvest was so good, the cash I have on hand isn't enough to pay everyone today. What? You're out of money? Then did we work for nothing? Everyone, don't panic. Since I brought you all into this, I won't cheat you out of a penny. I just bought this bike yesterday. It cost me over 400 yuan. I'll leave it here as collateral. At the village chief's house. It's too late, and the bank is closed. I can't make money appear out of thin air. But first thing tomorrow morning, I'll take these matsutake to the city to sell. I promise you all, I'll pay every cent of today's money, without leaving out a penny. And bring back tomorrow's payment too. Young Master Chin, don't be a stranger. The money you paid us yesterday was still warm. I trust you.
Exactly.
Young Master Chin doesn't even care about a fortune worth tens of millions. Would he really cheat us over this little bit of money? That bike is brand new. Enough, stop arguing. This young man is destined for great things. I'll vouch for him. If you don't trust him, take your matsutake home. If you do, come collect your money tomorrow. Everyone, rest assured. The whole production crew is here too. I may be able to run, but this temple can't. Would I really throw away my reputation over a few thousand yuan? With the villagers' support, all their doubts vanished in an instant. They were replaced by even stronger trust. As you looked at their simple, honest smiles, a warm feeling rose in your heart. A smile spread across your lips. You bowed deeply to everyone. Thank you, everyone. Tomorrow night. Just bring sacks to carry all the money. Early the next morning, you were already dressed and ready. Standing in the yard, full of energy, you went to wake the director. Director Wang, Director Wang. Wake up! The sun's up. Oh, my young masters, why are you up so early? The show has only been running for a few days, but your schedule is more regular than the village roosters. How are the crew supposed to keep up? Director, did you forget our agreement? Agreement? What agreement? Yesterday, in front of the whole village, you promised us that as long as I didn't break any rules, whenever I needed to sell goods in town or the city, the show would provide a free ride and help haul my goods. Oh, that. Zhao Liu, come here for a second. Go get the Jinbai van and give them a ride. Young Master Qin, where are we going? Qingxi Town again? You didn't answer right away. Instead, you glanced at the somewhat old but spacious Jinbai van, then turned back to Wang Gang and asked seriously, Director, is there enough gas? Of course there is. We just filled it up last night. It can easily go 50 or 60 miles. Good then, Driver Liu. We're going to Yuncheng City. What? Yuncheng City? That's over 60 miles of mountain roads from here. The round trip will take 4 or 5 hours. What are you going there for? The buying price in town is too low. I want to maximize our profits. So naturally, we have to go to the city. You agreed to lend us the van, but you never set a mileage limit, did you? Surely a big-time director like you isn't going to back out now? Wang Gang was speechless. He really hadn't set a mileage limit, but he thought these kids would only drive around town at most. Of course I'm not backing out. But Qin Hao, that's a long way to go. You should at least chip in for the gas. Over 120 miles round trip. That's no small expense. Director, is the show broke? Do we have to cover it? We're the show's guests. You should cover our food, clothes, housing, and travel. We're supporting ourselves. We haven't asked you for money. We've already saved you a ton of money. Besides, my dad invested 20 million in the show. The other two families invested plenty too, with tens of millions in sponsorships. You can't afford 1 tank of gas? Seeing that harmless smile on your face, Wang Gang couldn't help grinding his teeth. Even his cheeks twitched. Wang Gang forced an uglier-than-crying smile. Young Master Qin is right. The show will cover the gas. Zhao Liu, let's go. Then you all loaded the basket filled with over 50 pounds of matsutake into the van. With the engine roaring, the Jinbai van kicked up a cloud of dust and slowly headed toward bustling Yunzhou City. After more than 3 hours of bumpy roads, your group finally entered Yunzhou City. Look, we're here. It feels like we're back in civilization. You didn't waste any time and headed straight to that upscale market. Unload it. You pulled out the business card the owner gave you last time and handed it over. Please let him know. Tell him the guy with the fresh goods is here. Please wait. Before long.
The owner came out quickly.
He'd been wondering who was looking for him so early. But when he saw your face, it's you! I've been thinking about you these past few days. Since I promised you, I naturally wouldn't go back on my word. They're not all like the ones from last time, the absolute top-grade batch. But they're all real wild Dalianshan matsutake. Far better than the usual stuff you buy. Take a look. Indeed, though this batch varied in size and wasn't as uniform as last time, it was fresher. No wormholes, no damage. And all over 5 centimeters. Still top-quality goods. Though not as good as your last batch, they're still hot sellers in today's market. We're old friends, so how about this? I'll take a loss. 350 per pound. Sound good? The premium ones sold for 400 last time. These are a bit lower quality, so 350. At a 2010 wholesale market, that's definitely a fair price. You're very generous, boss. Everyone quickly weighed the matsutake. Net weight, 56 pounds. 350 times 56. Comes to 19,600 yuan. Let's round it up for you. Make it 20,000 cash. When that thick stack of 100 yuan bills was handed to you, Lin Feng and Su Wan, standing nearby, began breathing faster. Then you walked through Yunzhou city's bustling streets. Everyone's steps felt much lighter. Lin Feng walked beside Qin Hao, still thinking about that number. We sold them for 350 a pound. We net around 260 yuan per pound. For 56 pounds, that's over 14,000 in pure profit. That's a 250% profit margin. That's even more profitable than my family's real estate business. Wow, mushrooms make that much money. Then why couldn't the villagers get a good price before? That's the value of information and channels. The villagers don't know outside prices, and they have no way to transport them out. They can only be lowballed by middlemen in town. But we broke that information barrier and connected directly with high-end city buyers. That's why we need to build up capital. This business has huge profits, but it's hard work, and it isn't sustainable. Once we have money, we can lead the villagers into more skilled work. All right, business is done. Now we've got money. Time to shop, Lin Feng. Your family is in real estate, right? What about it? Then you should know a bit about furniture, right? A little. Sis, I've helped look at furnishings for our finished apartments. That's great. Come on, let's go to the furniture market. Let's get some furniture for Grandpa and Grandma's rundown house. Think about it. These past few days, the bedboards have been hard as rocks. The dining table wobbles, and the chairs have uneven legs. Now that we have money, we don't need luxury, but we should improve our basic living conditions. Besides, Grandpa and Grandma are old. That bed is bad for their backs. At least we won't get ripped off by furniture dealers. We can buy sturdy solid wood tables and chairs now. And softer mattresses too. 20,000 yuan is more than enough. Hearing this, Lin Feng was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that after making money. Your first thought wasn't how to splurge, but how to improve the elders' lives. No problem. Leave it to me. I know a thing or two about wood. No one can fool me with veneer-covered fiberboard. By the way, Wan, aren't you good at cooking? After we buy the furniture, let's stop by the market. The market? Yeah, we made so much money this time, though it was mostly thanks to our hard work picking mushrooms. We can't just hand out money. We need to build relationships too. Let's buy some good meat and vegetables, and cook a big feast when we get back. Sure, it's been a while since I showed off my cooking. Let's buy a chicken, some ribs, and a fish. Okay, let's split up. No. Let's stick together. Over the next 2 hours, Yunzhou City's furniture market welcomed a strange group of customers. 3 plainly dressed teens were confidently picking out furniture. For under 2,000 yuan, they bought all this stuff. Lin Feng, you're amazing at this. Then you headed to the market. Boss, these ribs don't have enough meat. Give me that rack instead. The fish has to be alive and freshly killed. Throw in some scallions with the greens. When the Jinbai van slowly drove back into Shiwa village, it was already afternoon. The villagers had gathered early beneath the tree at the village entrance, waiting eagerly. When they saw that familiar Jinbai van return through the dust, the crowd instantly stirred. They're back, young Master Qin, and the others are back. You jumped out of the van. Seeing the villagers gather around, you wore a bright smile. You didn't rush to unload anything. Instead, you pulled out that thick stack of cash wrapped in newspaper. You stood on a large rock beside the van and held the money high. Folks, we brought the money back. Now, let's hand it out. The cheers were deafening. You jump off the rock and walk over to the table where Lin Feng is waiting with the ledger. Then place the thick stack of cash on the table. Everyone, get in line, one at a time. When your name is called, come collect your money. Sister-in-law Li, 3 pounds 270 yuan. No change, young Master Qin. Keep the rest as my thanks. Have some water. Let's keep things separate.
Take it.
You've earned it. Uncle Wang, 4.5 pounds, 405 yuan. Grandpa Zhao 2 pounds, 180 yuan, as Lin Feng clearly called out each payment. The smiles on the villagers' faces grew wider. Some got their money and squatted right down to count it carefully 3 times. Others carefully wrapped the cash in a handkerchief and tucked it inside their clothes. The joy of getting paid filled the whole village entrance with a festive atmosphere. Soon, every villager on yesterday's list had received the cash they were owed. You still have a small stack of bills in your hand. You put the money away again. Folks, the money's all handed out. But we're not done for today. Everyone who helped yesterday, don't leave, not a single one of you. Chef Su is making everyone a feast to celebrate. All right. The news spread like wildfire throughout the entire Shiwa village. Even the elderly villagers with bad legs were helped over by their families. Because as far as everyone knew, these city kids were already doing them a favor by not looking down on their dirt. So why would they ever invite them to dinner? You and Lin Feng direct several strong men as they carry the new furniture back to your grandparents' house. Seeing the brand new tables, chairs, and beds, the elderly couple tear up with excitement and refuse to let go of your hand. After getting the house in order, you return to the threshing ground, only to find Su Wan standing in front of the ingredients, twisting the hem of her clothes, looking nervous and uneasy. What's wrong, Wan Wan? Are the ingredients not fresh? They're all very fresh. Su Wan looks up, her delicate face full of worry. Back home, I used to cook for just a few people at most. I'm afraid I'll mess this up. You then turn to the village chief, who's directing everyone as they build the cooking stoves and call out, Chief, does anyone in our village know how to cook for a feast? Or maybe someone who's a good cook, who can take charge of the kitchen? Sure, at the east end of the village, there's my second cousin, Li Guoqiang. Led by the village chief, you arrive at a small courtyard at the village's east end. Enjoying the sun, second uncle, Li Guoqiang sets down his teacup and glances at the chief, then looks over the 3 of you and rises with a hearty laugh. Well, if it isn't young Master Chen who made us all rich. You're too kind, uncle. I heard you used to be a head chef at a state-run restaurant. I'm treating the whole village to dinner today, and I'd like to ask you to come out of retirement and run the kitchen to keep things under control. After hearing why you came, Li Guoqiang looks at these lively young people who sincerely want to help the village, and the admiration in his eyes grows stronger. It's rare to see city kids with hearts like yours, thinking to treat the whole village to dinner. I'll help you out. It's been a long time since these old bones got to work. My hands are itching to get back at it. That's great. Thank you, uncle. With a professional chef joining in, the evening feast is instantly elevated to another level. Su cut the meat into big chunks. Braised pork is best eaten in big bites. Lin, turn up the heat. A stir-fry needs a roaring flame. Chin, get the scallions, ginger, and garlic ready. On it. Su Wan helps out on the side, watching Uncle Li's smooth, practiced movements. She picks up plenty of real cooking skills. Before long, dish after dish is ready. The braised pork is glossy and deep red, rich but not greasy. The potatoes and ribs are tender and full of flavor, and the aroma is irresistible. The spicy sour fish whets the appetite. With tender, fresh fish, there are also huge bowls of stir-fried vegetables. Green and glistening, the fragrance drifts away on the night breeze and makes everyone in the village hungry. Dinner is served. At the sound of a shout, hundreds of villagers gather around the tables and dig in. It's delicious. So delicious. This braised pork is incredible. Even better than the food at the town restaurant. Uncle Li's cooking speaks for itself. And the meat young Master Chin bought is top-notch. You, Lin Feng, and Su Wan carry bowls and chopsticks, listening to everyone's laughter. Your hearts filled with a sense of accomplishment like never before. Just as the feast is about to end, Uncle Li suddenly gives a mysterious smile and beckons you over. Chin, you and those 2 kids, come over here. The 3 of you walk over to the stove, puzzled, and see Uncle Li pull out a dark brown clay jar that looks quite old. The mouth of the jar is sealed tight, Everyone's had their fill of meat. But for mountain folk like us, there's one delicacy even more fragrant than meat. Suddenly, an incredibly unique aroma slips out of the jar, instantly overpowering the smell of the meat. Lin Feng's nose twitches, and shock spreads across his face. That smells amazing. What is that smell? It's mushroom oil. I made it with mountain. The wild mushrooms from the mountains that don't sell for much are simmered with rapeseed oil for a long time to make this secret family recipe. Back when I worked at a state-run restaurant, this was my best-kept specialty. After speaking, Uncle Lee scooped up a big basin of freshly steamed white rice and dumped it straight into the wok. No meat, no eggs, not even a single vegetable. He simply used a spoon to scoop from the clay pot. 2 big spoonfuls of glossy black-red mushroom oil, along with the crispy fried mushrooms inside, and drizzled it over the white rice. The hot oil sizzled as it hit the rice. The aroma exploded instantly. Uncle Lee quickly stir-fried it, coating every grain of rice in that dark red mushroom oil, until it turned translucent and gleamed with an irresistible shine. Come try Uncle's mushroom oil fried rice. We stared at the seemingly ordinary fried rice and looked at each other. Then we picked up our spoons and took a bite. The moment the rice hit your tongue, your pupils would shrink in surprise. This was insanely good. I swear. It was 100 times better than any truffle fried rice I'd had. Su Wan's eyes lit up as she ate, shoveling it into her mouth like a little hamster. Uncle, what kind of mushrooms do you use for this oil? Oh, just some cheap stuff. Chanterelles green mushrooms. And assorted mushrooms I can't even name. They're not as precious as matsutake. They're all over the mountains. And they don't keep well. They rot just days after being picked. No one can sell them. At least simmering them into oil lets them keep for months. People mix it with noodles or rice for flavor. It's not worth much. Listening to Uncle Lee, I muttered to myself, all over the mountains. They can keep for months. If we bought them all up, even at just a few dollars a pound, then used Uncle's skills to turn them into this mushroom oil or mushroom sauce, we'd have a standard industrially processed product. It would keep well, be easy to ship, and sell across the country. We could even sell it worldwide through e-commerce. That's the real long-term solution, Uncle. This mushroom oil making skill. Could you teach it to us? Teach it to you? Chen, what do you need this skill for? Are you planning to go back to the city and make oil for yourselves? Not for ourselves. To sell. Uncle, this mushroom sauce tastes incredible. It's packed with umami, and the cost is extremely low. All we need to do is buy the assorted mushrooms villagers usually ignore, the ones they can't sell for a decent price. This could be a huge opportunity to truly lift the villagers out of poverty. I tried this when I was young too. I took it to town to sell. Everyone who tasted it said it was good. And people did buy it, but I could never get a good price. Think about it. There's the cost of oil, fuel, and labor. After all that work, you don't get much product. You can't even make back the cost of the oil. It's made from mushrooms growing everywhere. It's a lot of work for hardly any money. You'd be better off doing what you said and dealing in matsutake instead. It's not the same, Uncle. Matsutake may be excellent, but that's food given to us by nature. There just isn't enough of it. Even if an ordinary person spends all morning carefully picking in the mountains, they might get 3 or 4 pounds on a lucky day. On an unlucky day, just 1 or 2 pounds. They might even come home empty-handed. But the other wild mushrooms are different. Common porcini and chanterelles. Even green mushrooms are everywhere in our Dele mountains. The supply is unbelievably abundant. An ordinary person may not pick more than a few pounds of matsutake in a day, but they can definitely pick dozens of pounds of wild mushrooms. Their unit price may be low, but it's basically like picking up money. You don't have to rely on luck. As long as you're willing to bend down, they're there. And matsutake has to be sold fresh. One small bruise and it's nearly worthless. But we can process these mushrooms into sauce and seal it in jars. Then it becomes a product that can be stored long term. We can sell it all year round. What you're saying makes sense. But I'll say the same thing again. Around here, everyone knows the truth about this stuff. Who in town doesn't know how to make mushroom oil? If you charge too much, people aren't fools. You're right, Uncle. In Shiwa Village and in Kingshi Town, this stuff really can't command a high price, but what if we sold it online? Online? Exactly. Our mushrooms are all natural and pollution-free. And this wild mushroom sauce is made entirely by hand. In big cities, this would be considered an affordable luxury, a healthy food product. As long as the packaging is good and we tell the story well, plenty of people will be willing to pay. Uncle, the flavor is strong enough, and we have enough raw materials. All that's left is the marketing. Don't forget, we're filming Transforming Lives right now.
Exactly.
This show currently has the highest ratings in the country. The exposure from this show is an unbelievable blessing. All three of us guests have to do is show this jar while we're eating. The advertising value that brings would be impossible to buy, even with tens of millions. With the exposure, a great product, and great flavor, orders will come pouring in once the supply chain gets moving. Even if the profit margin is a little thin, the volume will make up for it. We're not saying everyone will get rich overnight, but at least we can improve things for the villagers, who can't even bring themselves to eat meat. This speech convinced not only Uncle Lee, but also got Su Wan fired up. Using the attention she had as a rich kid to help a poor village sell its products sounded far more meaningful than simply making money. Uncle Lee was silent for a long while. He looked at Chin Hao's young face and finally nodded firmly. All right, Chin, since you've got the skill and the heart for this old man will go wild with you one more time. Bro,